Kai expected the cost to arrive as pain. Pain would have been easier to respect. Pain announced itself, drew a boundary, gave him something obvious to report. He knew how to say my arm hurts or my ribs ache. He did not know how to say that his control had become a room with no windows and he had been standing in it too long. That was the shape his imagination gave it, veins burning, bones cracking, some dramatic price paid in a moment of impossible strength. Instead, the cost arrived on Tuesday morning as a hand that shook too badly to button his uniform shirt. He stood in front of the mirror and watched his fingers miss the same button twice. The third attempt worked only because he stopped looking at his hand. That frightened him more than the shaking itself. He had been watching himself too closely for days, breath, heat, expression, posture, every sign that he might be visible to the wrong eyes. Now his own body felt like another thing he had managed badly. The system offered its calm, unhelpful assessment. Body tempering stage 2, Chi 20 of 30 stage 3 path stabilized, 12%. Veiled flame strain accumulated. Recommendation, reduce concealment duration, increase recovery, avoid emotional spikes. Avoid emotional spikes, Kai muttered. Sure. At school, emotional spikes waited everywhere. A door slammed in the hall and his ember flared before he could stop it. Mina frowned at a new photograph from the service road and the urge to protect her burned hot enough to thin his veil. Ryan joked too loudly at lunch, then went quiet when a white van rolled past the front gate. Even kindness became difficult. A classmate lent him an eraser without asking, and gratitude warmed his chest too quickly. His history teacher praised his answer, and embarrassment cracked the veil along one edge. Mina passed him a note that said breathe, not clench, and affection made the ember lift like it wanted to answer her directly. By noon, Kai was exhausted by having feelings at all. Kai held veiled flame through all of it. By the final bell, his head throbbed behind his eyes. The pain was not sharp. It was pressure, dull and spreading, as if veiled flame had wrapped around his skull instead of the ember. The hallway light seemed too white. Voices arrived with hard edges. Kai kept walking because stopping in the middle of the hall would create questions, and questions would create concern, and concern would create another flare. By the time he reached the stairwell, even the railing felt too cold under his palm. He counted steps and lost count at 8. A younger student bumped his shoulder and apologized twice. Kai said it was fine because it was fine, then had to close his eyes until the ember stopped trying to interpret the startled contact as threat. Control had become exhausting not because he lacked it, but because he was trying to spend it without rest. He found an empty bathroom and locked himself in a stall for 2 minutes, sitting on the closed lid with his forehead against his palms. The veil trembled. He let it loosen for 1 breath, then 2, and no disaster followed. A sink dripped. Someone laughed in the hallway. The world continued without requiring him to hold it together every second. Mina noticed first, because Mina always noticed the evidence. She caught his sleeve near the stairwell and steered him toward an empty classroom without asking permission. Ryan followed, pretending he had meant to go that way. Sit, Mina said. Kai, Saturday you look like someone wrung you out and forgot to put you back correctly. Poetic, Ryan said. Accurate, Mina replied. She set her notebook on the desk. How long did you hold the veil today? Kai looked away. Ryan groaned. That means too long. Most of the day, Kai admitted. The confession made the headache feel heavier. Spoken aloud, most of the day sounded absurd. He would have called Ryan reckless for doing something that stupid. He would have called Mina obsessive. For himself, he had called it necessary until the word wore thin. Mina softened a little, which somehow made the correction worse. Necessary things still need limits, she said. Food is necessary. Breathing is necessary. You can still do both badly enough to make yourself sick. Ryan pointed at her. That is going in the wisdom archive. She ignored him. Kai did not, because the sentence had already lodged where the system's warnings usually went. Mina made him drink water before they left the classroom. Ryan stood by the door and watched the hallway with exaggerated casualness that fooled absolutely no one inside the room and probably everyone outside it. Kai hated needing the pause. He needed it anyway. That was becoming a theme. Mina's expression tightened. Kai. There was a van. There are many vans in a city. This one had the same dent near the back wheel. That made both of them quiet. Kai pressed his palms together to stop the shaking. If they are watching the school, I can't risk flaring where they can see. Mina leaned against the desk across from him. And if you collapse in the hallway, what do you think they'll notice then? He did not have an answer that sounded less foolish when spoken aloud. That was happening more often lately. The logic inside his fear always sounded cleaner before it had to pass through the air to other people. Protect them by hiding. Stay safe by never resting. Control the flame by gripping it until his hands shook. Out loud, the plan showed its cracks. Ryan dragged a chair around and sat backward on it. You keep treating control like clenching a fist. Maybe control is knowing when to unclench before your hand goes numb. Mina stared at him. What? Ryan said. I contain wisdom. Infrequently. Kai laughed once, weakly, and the veil slipped. If this story has you listening this far, subscribe to Azure Inkblade so the next chapter finds you instead of getting buried. It helps us keep making more of these every week. Now, back to the chapter. Warmth rolled through the classroom, no brighter than sunlight through a curtain, but enough for all three of them to feel it. It touched the desks first, or seemed to. The scratched wood warmed beneath Mina's hand. Dust lifted through the light near the windows. The room did not become magical. It became gentle, absurdly so, like someone had opened a door to afternoon after a long winter morning. Mina's eyes widened. Ryan sat still. Kai grabbed for the veil again, panic rising. Wait, Mina said. He froze. It didn't hurt, she continued. Her voice had shifted into the careful tone she used around delicate evidence. And it didn't spread far. It just warmed the room. Kai swallowed. That still means I lost control. Maybe it means not every loss of control is a disaster. The words landed strangely. Since the system had awakened, every flare had felt like failure or danger. But the classroom had not burned. No alarm sounded. No suited men burst through the door. Mina was watching him with concern, not fear. Ryan looked thoughtful, which was becoming less rare and therefore more alarming. Ryan reached toward the air, then stopped before making a joke of it. That restraint nearly broke Kai more than the warmth had. Mina's eyes moved from Kai's face to his trembling hands and back again, collecting evidence without turning him into a problem to solve. They went to Han after school. He listened, then made Kai sit by the back window with both hands wrapped around a warm cup. Fire concealed too tightly consumes the vessel, Han said. Kai stared into the tea. So I should hide less. You should hide with rhythm. A breath held forever is not discipline. It is drowning. Han made him demonstrate. Veil for 4 breaths. Release for 2. Veil for 6. Release for 3. At first, every release felt like failure. Then Kai noticed the ember did not leap wildly when it was allowed to breathe. It settled. It warmed the room and then sank back down, less like a secret trying to escape and more like a hearth being tended. They practiced until the rhythm became something his body could remember without argument. Ryan counted badly on purpose once and was banned from counting. Mina took over, voice low and even. 4 in concealment. 2 in release. 6 and 3. 8 and 4. By the end, Kai was sweating again, but the headache had loosened its grip behind his eyes. Han ended the exercise before Kai could ask for another round. Leave strength unused, he said. You keep trying to spend every coin the moment you earn it. Kai wanted to protest, then remembered his shaking hands that morning and let the protest die. Unused strength felt wasteful. Maybe that was another thing he had learned wrong. Mina closed her notebook at last. Ryan stopped pretending he was not worried. No one congratulated Kai for enduring too much. That helped more than praise would have. It made rest feel like part of the work instead of a reward he had not earned yet, and maybe the first proof that he was finally listening. Mina wrote that down. Do not quote me in your schoolwork, Han said. No promises. Lena brought out the chain link again, sealed now between two panes of glass. While you were learning not to faint, I found something. The pattern is not only North River's mark. It copies an older listener binding script, badly. Badly how? Kai asked. Like someone traced a lock without understanding why the teeth matter. Lena tapped the glass with one fingernail. The old marks were instructions and restraints at the same time. This copies the shape of restraint without the ethics of it. Mina's pen paused over the page. Kai felt that sentence settle near the vows he had spoken at the slab. Power without understanding was not only dangerous. It was rude to the dead. Mina leaned closer. So Vale's people are imitating the listeners. Or stealing from what remains of them, Lena said. Han placed an old city map over Mina's newer one. His finger stopped near a bend in the drainage channel north of the ruins. There was once a small shrine here. Not a pilgrimage site. A maintenance point, of sorts. The listeners used places like this to quiet resonance before it reached the stones. Ryan perked up. A shrine in the city? Under the city now, Han said. Or near enough. The waterworks swallowed many old things. Kai felt the ember stir, not with hunger this time but recognition. The feeling was softer than the pull from the central slab. It did not draw him forward. It turned his attention, like hearing his name spoken in another room by someone who was not calling loudly because they trusted he would listen. For once, the response did not frighten him first. The system appeared. Potential heritage marker detected through map correlation. Recommended, observe at low resonance period. Warning, excessive concealment strain will reduce stability. Low resonance meant dawn, Han explained. Before traffic. Before the day's heat. Before North River's crews could pretend their work was ordinary. Kai looked at Mina and Ryan. The old instinct rose, tell them to stay back. The instinct came dressed as care, as always. They were tired. They had school. They had already been followed. He could go with Han and spare them the next layer of risk. The argument formed perfectly in his mind, and because it was perfect, he distrusted it. He let it pass. Tomorrow morning, he asked. Mina nodded. Ryan grinned, softer than usual. Tomorrow morning, Han said. And tonight, you sleep. For once, Kai obeyed without trying to turn obedience into another private test. He slept badly, but he slept. That counted. When he woke before dawn, his hands still trembled, but less. The cost had not vanished. It had become part of the plan.